Stop thinking life is a journey, Alan Watts. Alright, imagine this: you've been told your whole life that life is a journey. From the time you're a kid, you hear it everywhere, right? Life's a path, they say. You start here, and you end up there. It's drilled into us that everything is about getting somewhere. Whether it's success, happiness, or personal fulfillment, it's all about becoming as if you're incomplete now, and your job is to somehow make yourself whole. But what if this entire idea is wrong? What if the very notion of life as a journey is a trap, a mental prison that keeps us from ever truly living? Alan Watts flips this whole concept on its head. He says, stop thinking life is a journey. Because when you think about it, what's the destination? Death. Is that where we're all rushing to? And if life were just about reaching some final goal, wouldn't that make the entire process of living a kind of tedious waiting game? Imagine sitting on a plane, waiting for the flight to end, but you never look out the window, never enjoy the flight itself. That's what happens when we treat life as a journey with a fixed endpoint. We miss what's happening in the here and now. Here's a question for you. What if there is no destination? What if everything you've been taught about needing to achieve, to arrive somewhere, is just an illusion? Think about music. You don't listen to a song just to get to the end of it. The beauty is in the melody, in the notes that unfold moment by moment. The same goes for dance. The purpose of dancing isn't to get to a certain spot on the floor, it's to enjoy each step, each movement. Life, Watts argues, is much more like music or dance than a straight line from point A to point B. But why do we get so caught up in this idea of life as a journey? It's because we've been conditioned to think that happiness and fulfillment lie in the future. We're obsessed with progress, with moving forward, with achieving. Society constantly tells us that we need to be more successful, more intelligent, more wealthy, more everything. But this mindset leads us to live in a perpetual state of not yet. We're always focused on what's next, on where we're going, rather than where we are. And because of that, we never actually arrive. Here's another deep question. When was the last time you truly felt like you had arrived in life? Think about it. We're always in the process of becoming, never being. We think, I'll be happy once I get that promotion, or I'll feel fulfilled once I've achieved this or that. But the moment we reach those milestones, what happens? We move the goalposts. We tell ourselves we need something else, something more, to feel complete. It's a never-ending cycle that keeps us chasing after a future that never really comes. Watts would say that this is a huge mistake. Life is not about constant striving, it's about being. It's about realizing that now is all there ever is. The present moment is the only reality. The past is a memory. The future is a projection. Yet we spend so much of our time mentally living in both regretting the past or worrying about the future. And in doing so, we miss the only thing that's real this moment right now.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
Let's get practical for a second. How often do we say to ourselves, I'll be happy when I get that job, when I meet the right person, when I achieve this or that goal? But here's the thing, happiness is not a destination. It's not something you find at the end of the road. It's something that happens right here, right now, when you stop waiting for life to begin and start living it. So, let me ask you, what are you waiting for? Why do we put off happiness, contentment, and peace as if they're things that will magically appear once we've checked off every box on our life's to-do list? Watts would say that the more we think of life as a journey, the more we keep ourselves from ever experiencing the joy that's available to us in every moment. It's not just about the big moments either, those achievements that society tells us to chase. It's about the small, seemingly insignificant moments too. The sound of rain, the laughter of a friend, the quiet contentment of sitting alone with your thoughts. These are not just checkpoints on the way to some grand destination. This is life. Every single moment is life unfolding, and the idea that life is a journey with a final destination keeps us from seeing the beauty in the now. So, what do we do with this realization? How do we shift our mindset from one of constantly striving towards some imagined future to one of being fully present? Watt suggests we start by letting go of the need to control everything. We need to stop trying to force life to fit into a neat, linear narrative where everything builds towards some final goal. Instead, we need to recognize that life is a process of constant unfolding, and the meaning of life is found in the experience of living it, not in where it's going. The illusion of control while you're not in charge of life. All right, let's go deeper. If life isn't a journey with a clear destination, then what does that mean for our sense of control? Most of us live under the assumption that we're in charge of our lives, right? We believe that if we just work hard enough, plan carefully enough, and make the right choices, we can steer our lives in whatever direction we choose. But here's the uncomfortable truth that Alan Watts brings to light: you're not in control. In fact, the very idea that you can control life is an illusion. Now, this idea might sound unsettling at first, but it's also incredibly liberating once you let it sink in. Think about it for a second. How many times have you meticulously planned something, only to have life throw a curveball? Maybe you had the perfect career path mapped out, but then an unexpected event completely changed your course. Or maybe you thought you had your relationships figured out, only to realize that life had other plans. These moments of disruption, of chaos, are reminders that life is far more complex and unpredictable than we'd like to admit. Here's a question to ponder: how much of your life has actually gone according to plan? We like to think we're in control, but if we're honest with ourselves, most of life unfolds in ways we couldn't have anticipated. The problem is, we're so obsessed with this idea of control that we resist the natural flow of life. We try to force life to conform to our expectations, and when it doesn't, we suffer. But what if the key to peace and happiness isn't about gaining more control, but about letting go of the need for control altogether? Watts argues that life is more like a river than a road. You don't control the flow of the river, you can't dictate its speed, its direction, or the obstacles it encounters. What you can do is learn to float with it. You can navigate its currents, but you're not in charge of where the river ultimately takes you. And here's the paradox: the moment you stop trying to control the river, the more at ease you become. The more you surrender to the flow of life, the more you begin to experience a profound sense of peace. But why do we cling so tightly to the illusion of control? It's because we believe that control equals security. We think, if I can just control my circumstances, I'll be safe. I'll be happy, but this is where we trip ourselves up. Watts would say that life is inherently uncertain, and trying to control it is like trying to hold onto sand. The tighter you grip, the more it slips through your fingers. The more you try to control life, the more life feels out of control. So, here's the real challenge: can you let go? Can you stop trying to micromanage every aspect of your life and instead trust in the natural flow of things? This doesn't mean becoming passive or indifferent. It doesn't mean you stop caring about your life or your choices. It means recognizing that there's only so much you can control, and beyond that, life will unfold as it will. Let's get real for a second. How much energy do we waste worrying about things that are completely beyond our control? We stress about the future, obsess over what might happen, and constantly try to manipulate circumstances to fit our desires. But this obsession with control only leads to frustration and anxiety. Watts suggests that true freedom comes when we stop fighting the current and start embracing the unpredictability of life. He would ask, what would your life look like if you stopped trying to control everything? What if, instead of resisting the flow of life, you allowed yourself to be carried by it? This doesn't mean you become powerless. In fact, it's the opposite. When you let go of the illusion of control, you become more in tune with life's natural rhythms. You stop wasting energy on things you can't change and start focusing on what truly matters: being present, being aware, and fully experiencing the moment you're in. The present moment, why now, is all you ever have. Let's take this even deeper. If you're not in control of life, and life isn't a journey toward a specific destination, then what's left? Alan Watts tells us that the answer is simple but profound: the present moment. This moment, right here, right now, is all you ever really have. The past, it's a memory. The future, it's a projection of your mind. But the present, it's the only reality. Everything else is just a thought. We spend so much of our lives caught in two places: either we're dwelling on the past, replaying old memories, regrets, or missed opportunities, or we're anxiously anticipating the future, planning for what's next, worrying about what might go wrong. But in doing so, we miss out on the only thing that's real: the present. Here's something to think about. How often are you truly present in your life? Really think about it. How much of your mental energy is spent either looking back or looking forward? And how often do you just stop, breathe, and fully experience this moment without needing it to be any different than it is? Most of us are rarely present. We treat the present moment as just a stepping stone to the next thing, instead of recognizing it for what it truly is: the only thing that actually exists. Watts suggests that the key to happiness, to peace, to fulfillment, is learning to live fully in the present moment. This doesn't mean you ignore the past or stop planning for the future. It means you stop being trapped by them. You stop allowing your mind to pull you out of the present with thoughts of what was or what might be. Instead, you ground yourself in the now, fully aware of what's happening around you, fully engaged with life as it is, not how you wish it to be. Here's a question that might shift your perspective. What would your life look like if you embraced the present moment as enough? If you stopped thinking about what's next and instead focused completely on what's happening right now? This is where true freedom lies: not in controlling the future, not in rewriting the past, but in fully experiencing the only thing that's real: this moment, here, now. Watts would say that the present moment is life. Everything else is just a distraction. And when you learn to live in the now, you discover a depth of experience, a richness of life that you've overlooked in your constant striving. Because the truth is, life isn't happening anywhere else, it's happening right here. Living without time while letting go of the future brings true freedom. Now that we've explored the power of the present moment, let's face the final challenge: our obsession with the future. We live in a culture that constantly pushes us to think about what's next. From a young age, we're taught to plan, to prepare, to imagine a future version of ourselves. But here's the paradox: by focusing so much on the future, we lose the ability to fully live in the present. Alan Watts would tell you that the future, like the past, is an illusion. It's a mental construct, a projection of what might happen, but not something that truly exists in this moment. Think about it: how real is the future? You can't touch it, you can't experience it directly. It's always just ahead, something we chase but never actually catch. And the more we focus on it, the more we miss what's right in front of us. The future becomes a mental prison, where we believe that happiness, success, or fulfillment will finally be found, but only later, once we've achieved this or that. But Watts reminds us that later never comes. When the future arrives, it's always just another present moment. So, what would happen if you let go of the future? If you stop living with the constant expectation that happiness lies somewhere up ahead? Watts suggests that true freedom comes when you stop living for what's next and start living for now. This doesn't mean you abandon all plans or goals. It means you stop allowing the future to control your happiness. You stop believing that life will be better once you reach some imagined point down the road. Here's a question to reflect on: what are you postponing in your life right now? What joy, what peace, what sense of fulfillment are you putting off until some future moment? The truth is, whatever you think the future will bring, you already have access to the present. Happiness isn't something you achieve, it's something you uncover, right here, in the now, when you stop chasing after it and start living in the moment. Watts would say that the secret to life is realizing that there's nothing to chase, nothing to become. You are already complete. Life isn't about arriving at some distant point, it's about fully experiencing each moment as it comes. And the moment you let go of the need to control the future, you'll find that true freedom, real, lasting happiness has been within your reach all along.